And we're back for day 3, week 2 of remote learning and global history. Now, I hope you got some good context about African decolonial movements, as well as thinking about specifically Ghana and the Congo. Today, we're going to get into some figures, two men, two very powerful men who are figures in these decolonial movements. So let's jump into the objective. Students will be able to compare and analyze primary sources from the decolonization movements in Ghana and the Congo. Now, specifically, y'all, the skills that we're working on today is being able to compare. Compare is to be able to see what's similar about two different things. Contrast would be to see what's different. And analyze primary sources. So we're going to break down these primary sources so that we can show what was going on in the decolonization movements in Ghana and the Congo. Today, we're specifically going to learn about two men, Kwame Nkrumah and Patrice Lumumba. Kwame Nkrumah is from Ghana and Patrice Lumumba is from the Congo. Let's look into the agenda. First, we are going to do a right now, look a little map comparison. Second, we're going to do a context recap video to talk a little bit about Ghana and Kwame Nkrumah. 3, we're going to look at Lumumba's Independence Day speech. And 4, we are going to do a source analysis of a source from Kwame Nkrumah and a source from Patrice Lumumba. What will be graded, again, what will be graded is your answer to the Google Classroom question. And that question will be based on the two sources that we read in the source pack today. And we're going to close out and reflect on what we learned. So let's go. All right, first, we have a right now. Now, first, what do you see? What does it make you think? And what does it make you wonder? Now, before you pause the video, let me just kind of gear you towards what we are seeing. We are looking at two maps. We're looking at two maps of Africa. I think maybe some things that are different are the labeling and the legend right here. I would look at these nations right here. I would ask myself, what nations are they? Then I would zoom in and look at the labeling of the nations on the map here. Are they the same as the other? What does that make you think? Is there a reason for this? Does this mark something significant? Is there anything in the title or the legend or the fine print down here that might tell us something about how to think about this? And then what does it make you wonder? What questions do you still have unanswered? What assumptions are you not too sure about still? Pause the video and go ahead and write that stuff down. Struggling a little with the vocab, we suggest that you go play Quizlet Learn for about 8 minutes and use this link to go just brush yourself up on the vocabulary, because these terms are very valuable for you to understand the situation. So if you want to do that, go ahead and pause the video, but if not, you can still rock with me. Let's keep it moving. So again, we are looking at decolonization movements in the Congo and in Ghana. Now, in these images, you're going to see two men that we are going to read from today, Patrice Lumumba, and Kwame Nkrumah. Now, we're going to get a little bit more into these men. So let's think about the question as we think about these two different individuals. In what ways do people resist exploitation? I want you to again think back to what we learned with China and India. What are the different ways people resist exploitation? All right, here's a video about Kwame Nkrumah. This is his name right here, just so you could see how I'm pronouncing it, how it's spelled. Kwame Nkhruma. Now, go ahead and press play on this video, pause my video, and you can watch this on your own. I want you to ask yourself, what type of education did Kwame Nkrumah get? How did this impact the decolonial movement in Ghana? And what methods did he use to liberate Ghana? Go ahead and pause the video and watch it now. Now that you got a little context about Kwame Nkrumah, let's look at Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. Now, Patrice Lumumba is another very interesting figure because he was not one to hold his tongue when speaking to the Western world, specifically Belgium. And he was not invited to speak at this independence celebration for the Congo, even though Belgium was also there. He was not invited to speak, but he took the podium anyway. And what he said really shook up Belgium and the Western world. Let's ask ourselves, what could he be saying, or what could he have insinuated that would have shooken up the Western world so much? And I have a fun fact about Patrice Lumumba after the video. Pause right here. Watch the video. All right. Now that you have watched the video, one, I want you to ask yourself, how did Lumumba resist European exploitation? What was he saying with his words? Was he talking about armed resistance? Was he talking about nonviolent resistance? What was he speaking of? But I will say, if you are still struggling, I'll tell you, the American CIA assassinated Patrice Lumumba and disposed of his body in a vat of acid. Now, don't take my word for it, go look for it. But the purpose of disposing of his body in a vat of acid was so that there could never be a grave or a memorial so people could revisit and think about Patrice Lumumba. I wonder why the United States would be invested in something like this. Why would they care about a man in the Congo leading his people away from imperialism? Question, go research if you're interested. Let's move on. Now, this is the reading that you will be using to answer the graded Google question for today. So go ahead and turn to pages 7 through 8 in your source pack. One of the readings is from Kwame Nkrumah. Make sure that you are using these little CFU checks and that you understand what is going on. There's also a small summary at the bottom for each reading if you still are kind of struggling to understand what you are reading. Please make sure you read the whole article first, just so we could drive our reading levels up. We need to be able to understand words, especially when we are not given checks for understanding in life. After you have done that, go ahead and take down in your 610 notes what are the different features of what Kwame Nkrumah is saying. What are the different features of what Patrice Lumumba is saying? Are they similar? Are they different? What are they both talking about? What are they talking about that's different? And that's where you will take it into step 3, where you will go back into Google Classroom, answer your Google question, and it will be using the evidence rubric, and it will go in the gradebook as a CRQ grade, which also will have a CRQ standard attached to it. What that means is that it will severely impact your grade. So make sure you give some attention to this assignment. All right, just some criteria for success on what to do for the Google Classroom. Remember, you have to go back into Google Classroom. You have to write 5 to 8 sentences. You will be graded on the CRQ and evidence rubric. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Mr. Beaton or myself. Now let's just go back and think about what we learned about. So we learned about 2 different individuals. We learned about Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. We learned that he was a very passionate speaker and upset the Western world, and specifically Belgium, with the words that he had to say at this independence celebration. We also learned about Kwame Nkrumah. Kwame Nkrumah was from Ghana, and we learned that he was educated in the US and in Great Britain, and that brought a lot of knowledge and understanding about independence into Ghana and sparked the Ghana decolonial movement. And we asked ourselves, what are the ways that people resist exploitation? And we asked ourselves, how did Kwame Nkrumah resist exploitation? How did Patrice Lumumba resist exploitation? If you do not have the answers to this question, you might want to go back and watch these videos and do the readings one more time so that you could really understand how these 2 gentlemen led their nations away from imperialism. I hope you all have a great day. Get outside, do something nice for your family or for yourself, and I will see y'all later.